Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, I have got some new chain for my 3120. After that last video where it was struggling in the wood, I came to a couple conclusions there. It basically the main conclusion was it was the chain's fault, right? Having a 42-inch bar, full comp, full chisel, trying to rip, just wasn't the right way to go. So I got some new ripping chain. We're going to get in real close, take a look at it. This is basically the cheapest ripping chain I could find on eBay. There was a store selling it, and we're going to take a close look at it here. 42-inch, 135 drive length, 3/8, 063. Should fit right up. But we're going to compare them side by side and see what the difference is and why this one might cut better, and then we're going to go cut with it. Welcome to Man Time. Man, I tell you what, if you want a man to give you some free advertising, just send him a shirt with something on it that doesn't have holes in it. That's the right size, and I tell you what, I'll wear a shirt basically regardless of what it says and or, well, I do have one stipulation. It's got to be 100% cotton. I don't like the cotton blend. So 100% cotton, breathable, moisture wicking, comfortable, soft on the skin, so on and so forth. Anyways, let's jump into the chain. So I got on eBay and was looking for like skip chain and ripping chain, basically ripping chain, right? Because the majority of the wood I've got left on this trunk and the majority of the work this 3120 is going to be doing from now on is going to be ripping. And trying to run the 36-inch bar through those huge chunks just isn't going to work, right? So I needed a bigger bar. So this is only a 42-inch, you know, which is 6 inches bigger, but it's enough. That's what she said, right? Anyways, the full comp, full chisel, it was getting hung up in the cut, like, fairly easily, right? So a ripping chain is going to have two main differences. One of the differences is it's not going to be a full chisel, right? It's going to be a rounded edge on the side of it there. And it's going to, rather than be like a 30-degree angle, it's going to be like a 10-degree angle. So it's not taking as big of a bite, and it's not digging in quite as hard on the corner. Basically, the two things there that differentiate the ripping chain from the traditional style chain. So let me blow off the saw here and get this chain off, and then we can compare them side by side and get ready to put on, you know, the new chain. So let me get it all cleaned up and we'll get in close. Alright, well, I've got everything blown off, but before we get in here close, I thought I would play the Can You Untangle the 42-inch chain game. I know how much everybody enjoys this part, so let's see. We've got a big brick of chain, so let's just start letting it spread out here. Oh boy. Uh-oh. This could be an easy one. Oh, I think I just made it worse. Oh, man. Let's see, okay, that one's not right. This has got to go inside out somewhere down here. Fun part here, isn't it? We're close, though. We are close. So what it wants to do... Uh-oh. Now we got more. They're spreading. I think I made it worse. You get so screwed up down here. Okay, well now we're just in a big pickle, aren't we? Oh, I almost had it. See, like right there? Do I have it? I've got it. I've got it. Okay. That is a big length of chain. Alright. Almost got discouraged there. Okay. I've got them side by side right here. Let's take a look. Alright, so here is the two chains, and you can see this one is going to be the ripping chain. And the differences are pretty apparent here when you get them, you know, side by side. The width of the cutter is much thinner, and the angle is much more, you know, basically just kind of squared off. Again, like a round a 10-degree angle for that cutter. And it looks like a pretty good tooth. It's got that same kind of, you know, filing as the C83 factory file, where this one has got my round file on it, but I mean, just super deadly sharp on this one that I filed. So yeah, it's going to be taking a lot less material, and it's more blunted, and it's got this curved edge, you know, where this one is just a straight 90. So it's going to be going through the wood a lot smoother and taking less of a bite. So I think that is going to work with the saw well, because what was happening was this, you know, it would bite, and then the saw would basically like flood out, because it was pumping so much fuel through the machine. Once it bit and it wasn't able to rotate anymore, it just basically flooded itself out. So, all right, let's get this new chain on here and see what it looks like. All right, let's see if we can get this chain on here. Now, the most important thing is when you're starting out to make sure, there it goes. You want to get it seated in the rim sprocket there, in the drive gear, before you start to go spooling it up over the bar. And I did flip my bar around. If you're unsure, you know, which side the bar came off, what you're looking for is just like wear pattern. So this one has a pretty big wear pattern here and here. On this side it's less and less, so I just, you know, swapped it over to that side. But I made sure there wasn't a burr, and I made sure that they were still, you know, good rails. Now, cheaper chains, one thing you want to watch out for with the cheaper chains, like the one on that 36-inch bar that came like free with the bar, is the width of the cutters, right? And you can check that by wiggling the chain in the bar. The width of these cutters is very good. There's very little wiggle here. That means, you know, basically you're going to have a clean cut. When you're in the cut, the chain isn't going to be rattling around. That's probably some of the reason why that 36 was rattling. And as a matter of fact, the store that I bought this from, they had $50 free shipping, so I threw in another chain, 36-inch, 114 drive length, 3/8 050, for the G660, that 36-inch steel bar that I got. So that was pretty good. This chain is much, much cheaper than pretty much any other chain. Like, basically cheaper than any other chain I could find, right? I'm not going to be using this thing milling like a bunch of wood. I've got one tree down. I mean, it's a lot of wood in that tree and in that trunk, but as far as it goes, I am not going to be milling a whole lot of wood, I don't think. The amount of wood that I'm going to mill off of this tree and with this saw should be sufficient to carry me through for a long time, you know. Unless I was selling wood, I don't think I would invest in a better chain, you know. Okay, so we've got it, you know, tight against there. Now we're just going to tighten it up. I've got the weight off of the tip, and we're just going to watch it kind of come in. Yeah, I think I'm going to start out with it a little tight like that. Fresh chains will typically stretch quite a bit initially, and since this is a cheaper chain, you know, I expect it to stretch quite a bit. But yeah, the chain that came on that G660, it doesn't even have any markings on it, so I couldn't even tell you like what it was. But yeah, nice and sharp, just very slight angle, but it has that square grind kind of deal going on, and it does have some oil pockets in the drive teeth, you know, so that's nice. Should work pretty good. Let's see if it stretches any just on an initial start. Sometimes they do. Yeah, you can usually tell how a you know what, I'm going to add gas to this before I even try. Man, if I was complaining about that 660 being thirsty, that's nothing compared to the thirst on this thing. That one ripping cut through that big slab with this saw basically used a full tank of gas, full tank of oil. And these are big tanks. Alright, I think I've learned my lesson on the choking the saw after the fresh fuel up. So I'm going to go no choke and see what it does here. Yeah, so there is no choke, half throttle. Maybe now I'll try a choke. People wonder why you don't just run the biggest saw every single time. I go for the smallest saw possible to get the job done. Problem with ripping, you know, that big of slices of wood, you need a bigger saw. It was rough cutting through there with the 660. This is a much better tool for the job. So that's what happens when the decom's on. Freshly built saw here. Only about 4-5 tanks through it maybe since the cylinder and piston swap to the highway stuff. Alright, well there we go. First fire with the new chain. What do we got? Still very tight. I saw it loosen up a little bit on the bottom there, but that's a good sign. It's still nice and tight. So we will put this in the wood next time. Well, right now for you. Let's go. Well, I was gonna say that that this was my fault, right? I realized right about here it was kind of cutting at an angle, and I was like, you know what? I must not have lined it up perfectly vertical on the top here, and that's why it was kind of getting thinner and thinner. But as you can see down here, it just starts curving. That's gonna be chain. Let's get back on the bench and see if we can figure out what's going on with this chain.